Hey Super Horror fam! With spooky season right around the corner, I find myself wondering about which horror movies will be worth the watch, and which ones would be better off dead. Every time I do this, I ask myself, what truly makes a horror movie remarkable? The answer is the hidden meanings.
I thought you said it was horror-based.
Shut up! Today we'll be discussing the social commentary in the movie The Nun. The Nun 2 is coming out soon, so if you haven't seen the original, want a refresher, or just want to make sure you don't miss any of the subtext, you're in the right place. Tonight we're going to decipher the tapestry of The Nun, and in doing so, unravel the very fabric of our own beliefs. So now, without further ado, take it, Eddie!
So let's be honest, when people think about The Nun, that's pretty scary. But let's read one of these reviews. Candace McMillan of the Seattle Refined says, "At its best, horror marks you. At its worst, it wastes your time and $12. The Nun, sure as all that is holy, does not leave a mark." Now Candace is not a bad person, horror fam. She's just completely wrong. She should probably stick to critiquing romantic comedies. That's probably more her speed. At its best, horror parallels our own real-life problems or reveals deep-seated truths that can be difficult to grapple with. Beyond that, horror is about taste. Some people prefer a creepy slow burn. Some people enjoy watching very intense body horror. But these are not the horror movie. These are tempo. It would be like if you were to judge a song exclusively by its beat. Now sometimes a song can have a really catchy beat, and it can carry the song, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't consider melody and lyrics. I'll agree, The Nun's beats had trouble. I think it's because you expected something different from the Conjuring franchise. It's a problem of expectations. And yes, for my taste, someone who very much enjoys a slow burn from time to time, there were still some pretty bad lulls in the story. But that doesn't mean The Nun didn't get anything right. The subtext was brilliant. What looks like a story about a priest, a nun in training, and a local villager heading to a haunted abbey to investigate a nun's mysterious death is actually an exploration of the struggle between faith, reason, and evil. A struggle that most people in the audience can probably relate to. The audience is given this information when they first meet Sister Irene. Sister Irene is in a classroom teaching children about dinosaurs when one of them says, "Mother Superior says dinosaurs are fake, that God planted their bones to test us." She then goes on to say there are no dinosaurs in the Bible, so that is evidence they're fake. Sister Irene plainly and gently explains her view of the Bible. She says the Bible is a love letter written to people by God. She's telling the audience here that she will not blindly believe what she's told, and she knows the Bible is not a science textbook. It's a spiritual book for spiritual things. In the next scene, we see her meet Father Burke, a no-nonsense man of the cloth whose faith is unwavering, almost to a fault. We see their differences in approach to their calling. Father Burke tells Sister Irene they're going to Romania, and that she was chosen because she was familiar with the territory. She's perplexed and tells Father Burke there must have been a mistake, as I've never been to Romania. To which Father Burke confidently tells her the Vatican does not make mistakes. For many in the audience, this might have just come across as a casual remark, but it encapsulates Father Burke's entire worldview. For him, faith is an absolute. There's no room for doubt or questioning. His belief in the church and its divine guidance is steadfast. It is the polar opposite of Sister Irene disagreeing with what Mother Superior had said just a few minutes earlier in the film. The juxtaposition, or contrast, created by these two characters allows the audience to witness how the evil residing in the haunted abbey reacts to these different ways of thinking. As our duo embarks on their perilous journey to the abbey, they're joined by an unexpected companion, a local man named Frenchie. Now Frenchie stands out, not just because of his rugged good looks or his charming accent, but because he is starkly different in his beliefs compared to Sister Irene and Father Burke. You see, Frenchie represents the secular side of humanity, someone who's rooted in the tangible material world, and maybe a bit of the carnal too. He's the embodiment of those who either have very little faith or simply don't prioritize it in their daily lives. His actions and decisions throughout their journey are driven not by a spiritual compass, but by a worldly logic, and sometimes instinct. In Frenchie's encounters with the malevolent forces at the Abbey, we gain a unique perspective, where Sister Irene and Father Burke grapple with their spiritual beliefs and convictions when faced with this evil. Frenchie confronts it from a position of skepticism and self-preservation. Frenchie is very much the mirror opposite of Father Burke in terms of faith. This contrast offers the audience a glimpse into how secularism copes when faced with the unexplainable. So, after a little back and forth conversation, and some hesitation, he agrees to take Father Burke and Sister Irene to the haunted Abbey. Once within the haunting confines of the Abbey, it becomes increasingly clear that the malevolent entity, Valak, doesn't interact with our three protagonists in the same way. Instead, the evil seems to adjust its approach based on the prevailing belief system of each character. When I first watched, I assumed Father Burke, with his unwavering faith, would theoretically be the most immune to Valak's attacks, but he might be the one that got the worst of it. Valak exploits his almost blind faith and weakened reasoning by targeting his past traumas and guilt, and using them as a weapon against him. Of course, the death of a child Father Burke was trying to help would be painful, but if he did all he could, he should be able to accept grace, mercy, and forgiveness. Sister Irene, with her unique blend of faith and reason, has very different encounters with Valak. For instance, Valak tries to deceive her by showing her illusions of a group of praying nuns, only for Sister Irene to later realize it was all just staged by Valak. This scene exemplifies her journey. Her faith tells her to trust in the image of praying nuns, but her reason, her logical side, pushes her to question and eventually see through the deception. It's also worth noting, with Sister Irene, Valak feels the need to deceive. It's like Valak recognizes she won't simply be a victim. The illusionary nuns tell Sister Irene to just keep praying, and she does this while being supernaturally injured as the pentagram is being etched onto her back. This is Valak trying to use faith to control her behavior, but the hold is eventually broken. And lastly, we have Frenchie. As the secular representative of the group, Frenchie's interactions with the supernatural are distinctly grounded. One of our first examples is when he sees a nun's ghost hanging herself in the woods. Terrified by this sight, his immediate, almost instinctual reaction is to grab the largest cross nearby and run away holding it as fast as possible. This moment is both funny and revealing, because it shows how immature his faith really is. Think about it, he could have grabbed a much smaller cross. For some reason in his mind, this larger cross will protect him better than a smaller one, and he holds on to it for dear life. Now, an argument could be made that maybe Valak treats males and females differently, and that I've read too far into all of this. But at the start of the movie, those nuns spoke of faith similarly to how Father Burke speaks of faith, and the entire abbey was overwhelmed. In the movie's climax, the true nature of each character's faith and the extent of their beliefs are put to the test as they individually confront Valak. Their responses provide deep insights into their mental and spiritual frameworks. Frenchie, the embodiment of secularism and practicality, doesn't rely on prayers or divine intervention. Instead, he goes straight for more tangible forms of defense: weapons. In one intense scene, he uses a shotgun to fend off the evil spirits. It's a straightforward, earthly, real-world response to a supernatural threat. His approach shows he's all about immediate, practical solutions to his problems, rather than spiritual guidance. And for the most part, it works. Then there's Father Burke. Steeped deep in faith, Father Burke's approach to Valak is almost entirely spiritual. He believes in the power of prayers, rituals, and the church's teachings to protect him. But his undying faith, while commendable, also makes him vulnerable. Time after time, Father Burke, despite his faith, ends up in situations that could easily result in his death. But, on the other side of that coin, I guess if he did die, his faith would become very useful because he would go to heaven. And this reveals the limitations of an overly dogmatic faith that isn't balanced with reason. Now, Sister Irene, serving as the bridge between the secular Frenchie and the devout Father Burke, has an approach that is both spiritual and practical. She understands the importance of faith, but also recognizes the value of having a tangible weapon against evil. Remembering the dinosaur conversation at the beginning of the movie, Sister Irene is someone who uses spiritual solutions for spiritual problems, and physical solutions for physical problems. Valak happens to be both a spiritual and physical threat. Armed with the holy relic, she confronts Valak, combining her faith with action. This proves to be effective as she uses the relic in a critical moment to seal Valak away, showcasing that a blend of faith and reason are a potent force against evil. Despite her best efforts, Valak still manages to escape. Because of Frenchie. Frenchie's eventual fate offers one of the most thought-provoking commentaries on the dance between faith and reason in the movie. Throughout the movie, he stands as a representative of the secular, offering a stark contrast to the devout characters like Father Burke, and his practical, real-world solutions, like bringing a gun into an abbey, save the day multiple times. Still, even after all of this, his fate is eventually tied to the very spiritual forces he was trying to distance himself from. By the end of the movie, it's revealed that Frenchie is possessed by Valak. For all of his skepticism and practicality, Frenchie couldn't escape the clutches of the supernatural. This possession can be seen as a symbolic representation of how sometimes even the most secular individuals can be influenced, possibly even overtaken, by spiritual forces, especially when they lack a protective spiritual framework. At its core, The Nun is more than an oddly paced collection of jump scares, as some critics have put it. It's an exploration of the balance between faith and reason, taking place in a creepy old Gothic castle. This theme isn't new to cinema. In fact, it's been explored in movies like Sleepy Hollow starring Johnny Depp, and in the story Sinister Sacrifices, a gripping horror mystery written by our own Papa Bones. Personally, I don't think the critics of whatever the latest rom-com is should be allowed to critique horror. Well-written horror movies can challenge our perspectives and reveal truths. Rom-coms, while fun at times, are good at making you eat popcorn. Now, I guess it's over to you, horror fam. What did you think of The Nun? What did you think of my analysis? Am I completely wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know about what other films made you question, wonder, or reflect. If there's a horror movie or story that you think I should talk about the social commentary for, make sure you let me know in the comments too. Until next time, Super Horror family, I hope you all take good care of yourselves and sleep well. But on this channel, sweet dreams are not guaranteed. Good night.